Okay, so first of all, they are the majority of the farming units, let's say, all over the world. This is not just in developing countries, but also in developed countries. You have a majority of the farming units being considered family farming. So it's a sector, it's a group that is present in majority in most of the realities. And this is becoming more and more important and relevant and recognized, let's say, by the international community and national government as well, because considering the potential that they have to bring effective solutions to the actual challenges that we are facing in food systems. So we are facing problems of deprivation of natural resources, or how to be more adapted and resilient to climate change, or even how you can renew the transformation of rural territories considering the growing urbanization, migration issues. So family farmers can bring several answers in an integrated way to this kind of big challenges that humanity is facing. I think the main, the relevant issue is how you use this sector in the policies to family farming to address priorities, national strategies, to bring answers, connecting to national strategies. So we see very strongly in Latin America, for instance, in the last almost 20 years, let's say, strong development of specific differentiated public policies for family farmers, both on, let's say, more on the productive aspects, so adapting the more traditional policies on credit, insurance, rural extension to be focused to the needs and adapted to family farmers, but also using this in order to bring results to strategies, for instance, to poverty reduction. So how it was very often used also as a way to reduce inequalities, to promote inclusiveness, social and economic inclusiveness. So very often these more productive policies were also linked to national strategies of food security or to reduce poverty, etc. And this also developed into others. For instance, very often you can see environmental services linked to family farmers, how to protect specific areas, things like this. While in Africa, you can see also this component of productive policies, especially on how to promote more sustainable development, sustainable agriculture, very often, and growingly the social protection experiences happening. In Asia, you can see an emphasis on social protection very often, or development of rural territories. So you have several very interesting experiences working more at community level, very often not just federal policies, but also on states or specific areas, targeting family farmers in order to promote community development and things like this. Well, you indicated family farming will bring a great opportunity to strengthen public policies, investments, and promote exchange of experiences on family farming in general, both between the farm organizations, but also among governments to share good experiences, lessons learned on how to improve their enabling environment to promote family farming. And this is very important because in a scenario where you have always limited resources, you need to be able to target, to be more efficient in your strategies. And I think that's why family farming is becoming more and more recognized, not just because of the solutions that they can bring, but also considering the needs that the government have to target their policies and to be more effective on how to promote. So family farming brings a framework where you can identify specific criteria depending on your own national context in order to be able to differentiate policies in order to be more effective to them. So when we're talking about family farming policies, this can encompass a big range of different policy areas. So from agricultural policies as credit, insurance, rural extension services, but also on rural social insurance. So the public policies for family farming can encompass a big range of different policy areas. This can encompass the typical more agricultural policies as access to credit, climate insurance, rural extension services, access to land and other natural resources, tenure of land and natural resources, but also other policy areas as social protection, how to increase the level of basic services that are promoted in rural areas, education, health, infrastructure, and also the environmental policies. These are being more and more developed considering the challenges that we have. So how you connect and you use family farmers to protect specific areas, landscape, biodiversity, very often also on nutrition, linking family farming production to school feeding, for instance, ensuring healthy foods to children at schools, but also on investments, right? So you can use the role of family farmers as main investors when you consider the total amount that they already do by themselves in order to dynamize rural territories, rural economies, local economies, short circuits. So you can work in different policy areas depending on the specific strategies that need to be prioritized in each context. Brazil, for instance, it was a very important example of how a group of policies and linked to a national strategy could bring very important results on the economy, but also on poverty reduction. So you had evidence that the income from the rural populations growed beyond the average of the national income, for instance. And this was related to policies on credit, insurance, rural extension, access to markets, social protection in rural areas. So the combination of different instruments brought these results. So since the beginning, in the preparation of the process to launch the UN Decade of Family Farming, it was very clear for all the actors involved that the UN Decade shouldn't be just a protocolar and advocacy initiative, but an initiative that could bring effective results, concrete results at national and regional level, and especially for family farmers. So that's why we have a global action plan, very concrete, with clear indications on activities, actions that can be done, and targets. And this is in order to promote ideas, suggestions on which kind of actions could be developed at national level. So after the global launch, now what is very important is to continue this process in the regions. And several regions are already planning their regional launches and how to adapt the global action plan into their own priorities, realities. And also that this could also happen in an inclusive way at national level. One of the main targets of the Global Action Plan is in 5 years' time that we could reach 100 national plans on family farming developed by the national governments. So when we could reach this number, This would be a fantastic tool to identify the needs, which kind of support needs to be provided, which processes are ongoing that can be promoted. So having this on our hands, it could also be a fantastic, give a fantastic element for the second phase, let's say, of the implementation of the decade, in order to work concretely with the specific processes. Each pillar combines, the actions of each pillar can promote the achievement of different SDGs in a broader sense. So, it's very important to highlight the linkages between the UN Decade on Family Farming and the Sustainable Development Goals. So all the UN decades that are promoted nowadays are initiatives to support the achievement of the SDGs. So this is one clear goal. The UN Decade needs to contribute to the achievement of the SDGs. And this is a recognition by the UN General Assembly that family farmers can bring a huge contribution to the achievement of the SDGs. So the Global Action Plan is completely sought for this. So it's how the multidimensional contributions of family farming on production, dynamization of rural areas, inclusiveness of women, youth, protection of natural resources, biodiversity, all of these are linked to different SDGs. So each pillar of the Global Action Plan, that we have 7 pillars, brings how working on these different actions that are presented, you can achieve several SDGs at once. So one example, the pillar on youth, to promote the inclusion of youth, can contribute to reduce no poverty, SDG 1, quality education, SDG 4, decent work, and economic growth, strong institutions, peace and justice. So each pillar brings contributions, considering the specificities, these dimensions, different dimensions of family farming, to several SDGs at once. And we need to present, to report back to the UN General Assembly every 2 years. And we will try to promote, stimulate the governments, the countries, to bring the results on family farming into their national voluntary reports on the SDGs. So the role of the family farming organizations is crucial. It was crucial for the approval of the UN Decade on Family Farming. This is, I think, one of the only decades that was approved with a huge support of civil society organizations around the world. More than 300 organizations were coordinating and supporting the approval in New York. And this strong support and participation continued along the preparation for the launch and now in the implementation. So we have several organizations that are helping the member countries, FAO and IFAD, to give direction where the implementation of the UN Decade should go. But not just this, we have a very specific, one specific pillar in the Global Action Plan dedicated to this, to strengthen family farm organizations, rural organizations. Why? Because we need to recognize the role that they play, not just to develop capacities of the family farmers, of their members, but also very often these organizations provide rural services that are very important, sometimes crucial to rural populations. So very often you have cooperative credit, sometimes organizations provide health care, sometimes provide child care for the women to be able to work, sometimes provide formal and informal education to the membership. So there is a quantity of very important services that are provided by rural organizations and family farm organizations that is very important to be recognized and strengthened during the UN Decade of Family Farming. Not to say that this is also important in order to be able to promote inclusive dialogue, in order to discuss the policies, the implementation, the measures that needs to be done, but also the concrete technical expertise and the services that they provide to the membership. So the next steps. Now it's very important to increase the awareness to the international community that this exists and what needs to be done. So there is a lot of work that is being done to develop communication strategies and to share information with rural communities and national governments and the regional spaces on the UN Decade of Family Farming, and will be also important to promote this process at regional and national level. So these are the next steps now. It's how we can support the development of the national plans, the governments that are willing to receive technical support or orientation on how to do it, to give concrete support to them, but also to make this discussion that happen at the global level reach the regions, and the regions to involve the different countries and the different actors in this discussion in order to have more context-oriented plans. The role of communications for rural development are crucial. So we have strong evidence that very often the poorest is not just an issue about income or access to economic opportunities, but is also a problem of access to information, to access to policies. So the role of communication is crucial. People need to know how to access policies, how to receive information about what they need to do to produce, or where they can look for help, or what is going on that can affect their reality. So this is very important and is a crucial element for the work plan, how we can also work together with family farming organizations in order to strengthen the information sharing with their membership, with rural communities, in order to... what family farming? Okay. So family farming, what the concept means, without entering into the more bureaucratic or academic concept, what is relevant is the linkage between the family and the farm. They are completely connected, co-evolve, adapt. So it's a concept that brings that the farming is done predominantly with a strong connection of the family with the land, with the unit, or with the area that they are producing or extracting or fishing, etc. So this is the most important concept, is the family and the farm are co-linked, they co-evolve. It brings economic, social, environmental aspects in the production. And for the decade, there is a lot of discussions about the academic concept, the academic analytical use of the concept. Sometimes there are misunderstandings when you bring the different identities that can exist in rural areas. But the decade are not willing to substitute, or the concept of family farming doesn't substitute, but it's a logic to apply this concept at the policy level. So how this concept can be transformed in order to differentiate policies to this broader group. So that's why several countries, using a very broad concept of family farming, starts to identify what in their reality, in their context, are the specific criteria that identify family farming. So some countries identify that, okay, so family farming for us is when you have a majority of the work in the unit by the family. Sometimes they put some limitations of external work. Sometimes they put some limits depending on the policy. If the policy is targeted to poorest on the income, or in the area that the family can manage, or if the family lives in the unit or close to the unit. So it's a concept that helps to create a policy space to differentiate public intervention to a certain group. And this is the main focus of the UN Decade. It's not on the more analytical or identitary, let's say, aspect, but is a concept that encompasses a broad group of constituencies. So the concept of family farming brings also peasants, fisher folks, pastoralists, mountain farmers, etc. So it's a concept that when you manage to develop policies for this concept, all of them have better access to opportunities and to policies. No, this collaboration among UN agencies are crucial for the decade to be effective, and we've been working very closely and in a very positive way with our sister agency IFAD in the development, the preparation for the UN Decade, and now on the implementation. It's important because we can then combine the different programs, resources that exist from both organizations in order to be more effective, channeling it to be more effective in order to promote policies in a more coordinated way. And from FAO perspective, we also have a strong framework to support it, considering different regional initiatives on family farming that exist in different regions, as in Latin America, in the Near East, in North Africa, and in Europe and Central Asia as well. And the idea of the UN Decade is also to strengthen those opportunities that could exist in FAO program on how to support family farmers in our program.